mentality would be completely different. Whoop.
You did?
No, hold on. Something just fell there, sorry.
Said in the second leg, funnily enough, by I was going to say Clive Davis there, it was another person altogether.
The marking was shocking.
So, Dave, you've got another UEFA?
Have I?
That is enough. The only thing that I would have said the Citizen M is better is because it's got free porn on it. Composure.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.
Manchester, brace yourself. Rangers are coming!
Hi everyone and welcome to the next episode of the iReady podcast. As ever, I'm your host Derek and with me is my co-host Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
Well, Derek, we're still recording and we're still talking, but it's just bitterly disappointing. I see, I'm sure we're going to get into later on, but just another disappointing Champions League attempt. And it's been one of many over the years, certainly that I can remember, a long time ago, even when you were a wee laddie, Derek. It's happened so many times. Really disappointed with a few other things. It's not going to be the usual chirpy, happy podcast that we've had over the last few months anyway, because it's been a bit of a disaster. But we're still here to talk about it, Derek. Hopefully this can be therapy for myself, you and anybody else that's listening, but we've got a lot to talk about, haven't we?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you were just disappointed because in the last 2 weeks since the last pod, you've never managed to get a holiday in.
I know, back working and everything, Derek. I mean, how depressing can you get, Derek? Everything that's been happening with Rangers, and I'm having to work to boot. It doesn't get much worse than that, mate, does it?
Yes, but it's not going to be the best of podcasts in terms of the results because, in fairness, we've not had one of these for, maybe about a year, Dave, have we? A really bad run.
But we had like 9 seasons before that, Derek. That's the only thing. So we should be used to it by now. But not great reading, unfortunately. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that as the pod goes on.
Yes. So we'll go down the tunnel and onto the pitch. So the first game we've got to cover was Tuesday the 3rd of August. It was a 2-1 loss away to Malmo in the Champions League qualifiers round 3, leg 1. 7 changes from the Livingston game. We lined up McGregor, Tavernier, Goldson, Helander, Barisic, Davis, Lundstrom, Arfield, Wright, Kent, Nitton. On the subs bench we had McCrory, Hogarth, Bassey, Hadji, Simpson, Patterson, Kelly, Sakala and Alec Lowry. Looking at that, a pretty lightweight bench, wasn't it?
Derek, I've seen all these mock-ups that people have been doing on Twitter for the start of the season, showing us that we've got 2, if not 3, starting 11s that we could put out, which, a lot of people are saying that would still be sort of champions in Scotland and give anybody a game. It's went from having that to having a very, very bare squad, hasn't it? With suspensions, injuries, people not fit, international duty, stuff like that. And as you say, a very young bench and, guys not with a lot of experience in there, especially for a massive game like this. So when I saw that, I was a wee bit concerned, Derek. I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, but just delighted to be back in Champions League qualifying, full of expectation as we kind of thought anyway. Malmo, just a twist of fate as well. The fact that the last time we were in the qualifiers, last time we were in the Champions League, it was Malmo that put us out. And a bad stat that was said in the second leg, funnily enough, by Clive Tilsley, was the fact that I think we had played about 36 nations over 360 odd games, and our Swedish teams are the only nation we've still to beat, and the run continues.
Yes, it does, Derek. I hate these superstitions. I hate all of this. I hate the lightning striking twice, but I always say to myself, that'll not happen. And Derek, I was feeling supremely confident before the actual night, but before I seen the players that we had missing, but still a first 11 that you would have thought could have maybe have sneaked a win or got a draw. But I'll let you get into the game anyway, Derek.
I mean, the first half was a scrappy half. You could tell that we were just out of pre-season. Malmo were well into their season. I think this was like the 18th competitive game, I think. We'd started off the first 5 minutes brightly, then completely dropped off, and it took us most of the half to get back in it. Malmo were comfortable with the ball, passing about well, closing us down quickly. Contrast that with us, where I wouldn't say we looked nervy, but we struggled to keep possession, mainly due to our poor touches and bad passing. Our set pieces, again, were rather poor. Not many getting past the first man, or it was hit too long. Took us to around the 30th minute to get to grips with the game. We were more comfortable. We got a lot more possession, and we started to knock the ball about well. It was a bit of a nothing half in that kind of case. There's not really anything that either keeper had to do.
No.
So into the second half, what could really only be described as 5 minutes of madness followed by 40 minutes of lacklustre passing, running into walls, poor possession followed by 5 minutes of patient build-up and probing, and a stunning strike to give us a lifeline in the end to make things a little easier for the following week. But on the 47th minute, Malmo went a goal up. Malmo came out the blocks, put us under a lot of pressure with a corner, a poor one to nobody at that. It wasn't cleared. We had a number of occasions where we could have taken the possession back, but didn't. The ball was played to the right. The player at the back post, and acres of space for a long time, crossed to him, he controlled and he shot into the near post. Just absolute criminal defending again. One feature that we've seen so far this year, the marking has been absolutely woeful, and this was another typifying example.
And I mean, again, Derek, it was something that we were totally, proud of the way that Rangers had defended the whole of last season. It was going to, it was like it's going to take something special to get past us and get past Alan McGregor. And as you say, the marking was shocking, and it was just a complete lack of desire as well, Derek, to just try and be first to the ball also, and. As you say, it was like watching a completely different team, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, still typing up, and I think, everybody has commented this who does a podcast, Heart and Hand, a lot of them, they were still typing up the notes from that goal. And from kickoff, on the 48th minute, Malmo went 2-0 up. As I said, from kickoff, we lost possession. I don't know how. I really don't know how. I think Lundstrom had something to do with it, but I don't know if he's just been the whipping boy lately. But I think it was a bad pass, a quick break on the right by Malmo, similar to the last time. No marking at the back post. Goldson tries to get the ball, but completely misses it, does some sort of spin, falls to the player who places it into the right-hand side. I think Tavernier was tracking back, but again, never got back to the man quick enough as well. I think that was the case where he was trying to cover for a player who was out of position, but he was out of position himself and not picking up the man on the left hand side. So a calamity of errors in 3 minutes, just absolutely abysmal.
Just strange again to see like the likes of Connor Golson, as you said, Derek. It was all over the shop. He didn't look assured as he not normally does, and it was just to me it looked like a sort of simple marking job. Stay tight to your man. Don't let just make sure that they don't get a shot away, and it was just all too easy in my opinion. And then from there, that's us. We're saying to ourselves, that's us that we're out, because we never looked as if we were going to score, Derek. It was very half chances that we were making, and at that point it was just as grim as it could get. And we were looking at the team saying, is this the same team that won the league a couple of months ago? It was really, really poor stuff to watch, and I think everybody was in shock. Really, just by watching the way, the standard of the defending in the game, and it did, as you say, you said it perfectly there. It was like a calamity errors in defence, and you can't say any more. It was just really, really, really poor.
No, and then I think Malmo really sat back after that. They allowed us a lot more possession. But we done absolutely nothing with it. Really, I've literally put no more notes here other than Itten came off on the 62nd and Sakala came on. And I'm not too sure if I'd just been pissed off and I haven't written anything, or literally there was no more subs after that, because once again, decisions with substitutions were severely lacking. It was clear that we weren't getting anything out of it, but the lack of subs. However, on the 95th minute, we got an absolute lifeline with Davis scoring. We had possession for I think there was about 5 minutes of injury time. We had possession for about 4 minutes straight, passing and probing in and around their box. A couple of floated crosses, but only cleared to our players. Pass to Davis just inside the box, who has a ping, might have taken a slight deflection, but it sails right into the top right corner, and that should have been the thing that spurred us on for the next game, because you've seen the reaction of their players. It's almost if they had realised they had flung everything they could at it. They were absolutely knackered, and a lot of them dropped to their knees at that point because they realised this is a massive chance that they've just blown with giving us that lifeline. Granted, there was no away goal, so I don't know if that has been a detriment to us in the end, or it was a bonus for the next game. But, certainly it was a lifeline nonetheless.
Definitely, Derek. And we all watched how poorly that we had performed for us to get that last gasp goal to give us a lifeline. Everybody at the same time said there is absolutely no way that we're going to play as woeful as that. In a packed Ibrox, really hungry, full of desire, hopefully getting some players back. And we all got a major boost for that as supporters-wise. It's a great goal. There wasn't a lot of standouts, Derek, but the man that scored the goal for Rangers, Stephen Davis, by far, in my opinion, by far our best player. The only one really with pass marks all night. I thought he never stopped all night. He was trying to get on the ball as much as possible and control the game. So, delighted for him to score the goal at the time. And, we really did think that was going to be it. We were that was our chance to go through, especially since we were going to be playing them at Ibrox.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, overall, we were very poor by standards. A lot of players posted missing. As you said, Davis probably the best player out of a lot of them. You could tell that we had just come out of pre-season and they were so many games into it. Malmo were well organised, but I don't think they were... I'm not going to insult them by saying I don't think they were that good. I think we've played better teams in Europe over the last couple of years than Malmo.
Definitely.
They only had 3 shots on target all game, and 2 of them were goals. Granted, we only had 2 shots on target and 1 was a goal, but that just shows you the lack. One, for a start, we focus on ourselves, how little we done considering how much possession we had, and 2, how little they done as well. So, and the fact that they come away with a 2-1 win.
Derek, that's nothing, because I've got we'll wait to the return leg and I'll tell you the stats for the return leg if you think that's bad. But I'll save that for when we get to it.
Yes. So we had to pick ourselves back up though for the next game. It was Saturday the 7th of August. We clearly never, because we lost 1-0 away to Dundee United in the Premiership. Now, I never got a chance to see the game. I had a family commitment that day and I'm kind of glad I did. However, I did watch the full game back a couple of days ago for this podcast, so that's the dedication I do for this. But we made 4 changes from the Malmo game. We lined up McLaughlin, Tavernier, Goldson, Helander, Barisic, Davis, Lundstrom, Kamara, Aribo, Kent and Morelos. On the subs bench we had McGregor, Patterson, Simpson, Arfield, Wright, Itten and Defoe. Kamal Roof was missing. They did say before the game he had a family emergency to deal with, and it turned out that his son was in hospital with, I think it was bronchitis. So I believe he's kind of recovering just now. I hope all is well.
That's good, yep.
And I think he was back playing as well with us for the game against Dunfermline. So
that's right,
Yep. So the first half, I would have said it was a fairly open game with Dundee United playing with a lot of pace and a lot of energy, whereas we were patient, bordering on lethargic at times, but peppered with some quick breaks as well. McLaughlin, the busier of the 2 keepers, however, fairly bread and butter for his saves. We had a few chances, however, blighted by poor finishing and poor decision making. Controversial moment on the 41st minute when Morelos was breaking through with the ball and dragged back by Mulgrew. Mulgrew was only given a yellow. Certainly a case for a red there, because he was through on goal, albeit he was about 5 yards outside the box and there was a defender to his left, but for me it was a clear goal scoring opportunity.
I didn't actually think it was Mulgrew, Derek. I thought it was the reincarnation of a young Paolo Maldini at his prime, because the way that the commentators were speaking about him, that's who you would have thought that was playing against Rangers. Do you know what I mean? It was quite incredible. It was a clear red card, Derek. He was through in goal, pulled back. How he stayed on the park, I've got no idea. And that's, completely for us. That'd have been a huge chance for us in that game. It didn't go our way. But as you say, just really lackadaisical again in the first half, wasn't it? Not enough clear goal-scoring chances for us. We looked again really lethargic and hoping for better in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, needed to play with a lot higher tempo and a lot more composure in the final third as well, and having a pop when the gap opens up. That's something that the team, even last year, I would have said were criticised for, about looking for the perfect opportunity to score. Just take a pop. How many goals have we scored with deflections? I mean, it doesn't matter if it comes off the foot, the arse, or it's a clean strike. It's if it goes in the back of the net, it's a goal. So
exactly,
yep. Into the second half, though, started off a lot brighter in the second half with a lot more urgency, but again doing little with it, nor were we putting the Dundee United keeper under any pressure. We had a lot of possession, and it was all undone in the 64th minute with a bit of fortune for United to go a goal up. United got the ball on the left near the touchline at the halfway line. The boy cuts inside, drives it forward. The attacker plays it too far in front of him. He manages to get the ball back, but he tries to pass to correct himself. It deflects off the boot of the backtracking Davis, right into the box to the on-running attacker who slots it past the keeper. Massive slice of fortune, and arguably against the run of play in the second half at that point there. But again, that's the type of fortune sometimes you need, and sometimes it lacks with us. Sometimes you need to create your own fortune, but they got it and were a goal down.
I don't know. It was a very fortunate deflection that they got, falling perfectly right in front of the Dundee United player, basically just to stick his big toe out and get past McLaughlin. You can't account for lucky sort of the deflected passes and stuff like that, Derek. But again, it was just really disappointing at that stage, because although Rangers weren't, absolutely dominating, we were the better team at that point. I felt that we had the upper hand on Dundee United. It was us that were having the vast majority of possession. It was us that were doing all the probing, trying to get forward. And then, quite rightly, like you say, against the run of play, that happened, and that basically knocked the wind right out of our sails, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always said, when it's a draw or we're only a goal up, we could be doing absolutely everything right, on top of them, and all it takes is one mistake or one bit of fortune like that, and then it's back to square one, or we're losing. So,
yeah.
But after the goal, United seemed to take heart from that, and they came at us with a bit more. However, everything came to nothing, really. We arguably had the better of the play in the last 20 minutes of the game, but again, still came to nothing. Yep. Our best chance of the game, I would have said, was on the 57th minute. It was a cross into the United box, headed away, but only to Tavernier in space, who was 25 yards from goal, who controls it and has a great shot, and there was a great dive and save by the keeper out for the corner. And that's really the only major piece of play, I think, what we forced the keeper into doing. Just really, really bitterly disappointing all round. You had the usual bunker nuts on Twitter. I'm glad I missed a lot of it, because, it was fucking Lundstrom, get him out, absolute waster, he's no go to it, blah, 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 blah. He's a Premiership player, for God's sake. A loss was always going to come at some point, and that's what we've got to understand. At least it came at the start of the season, not right at the end when it could have been really, really costly. A loss is a loss. You take it on the chin. You've got to move on from it. And as long as you learn from the mistakes, which we kind of never really for the next game. But
yeah, it's
not about the loss. It's about how you react from the loss. And I think we've seen that last year with the cup games, especially when we had the Motherwell game right the next game. We went down at an early goal. We came out 2-1 winners in the end. So, or was it 3-1, I think? But
3-1, yep.
Yeah. So it was going to come at some point, as I said.
It was. I mean, we did create a couple of other chances as well, Derek. As you say, the Tavernier chance was probably the best one. It was a great shot and a great save. There was a couple of crosses to the back post when Morelos was unlucky. Goldson, she should have done better with a header as well. But again, it didn't come to anything. And again, Derek, you touched on it in the last game against Malmo. The standard of balls into the box from us so far this season has been really, really poor, considering, we've got the likes of Tavernier, and I mean, what the hell has happened to Borna Barisic, Derek? I mean, it looks completely different. And you know me, Derek, I adore the guy. I think he's a phenomenal player. I don't know if he's still unfit. He's still trying to get back into, full match fitness, but he just does not look sharp. He's some of the, his passings, he just looks a completely different player for some reason, Barisic. And as I say, the standard, the balls into the box, whereas last year we were terrorising teams with crosses in, but so far this season it's just no work. It's just been really, really poor.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't know as well, Derek, if the following game was playing on a lot of players' minds as well. It shouldn't do because they're professionals, but the magnitude of the game and the importance of the following, the return leg at Ibrox against Malmo, maybe it was playing on, players' minds that they were wanting to be completely fit for the game. And as I say, I wouldn't like to think so, but it was a massive match for the club. So that could possibly have been a contributing factor into, players not looking as if they were as fully focused as they normally would be.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but our mentality has always been one game at a time. So it would anger me if that was the case.
We say that, but games as important as this one could well be. We don't like to think it is, but it could always be a factor.
Yeah. So leading into the next game, it was Tuesday the 10th of August. It was another 2-1 loss at home to Malmo, Champions League qualifying round 3, leg 2, and we were out. The good thing about the game though is, obviously this was deemed Freedom Day the day before, and we were due to get basically the whole stadium opened up. However, the SNP being the SNP, they like to put their own wee quick spin on things, and outdoor events were apparently going to be limited to 5,000 people. Yes, outdoor events limited to 5,000 people, but it was up to the local authority to listen to any requests. So more or less the same day, and to their credit for this one, Glasgow City Council said that it would give the all clear to Rangers and Celtic for full capacity at all their games, and I think all their local councils have followed suit as well. So, so the good thing there. So it was going to be a full house. It didn't stop there being ticketing issues at Ibrox, so an absolute disgrace this one here as well. Major ticketing issues with thousands of fans being locked out, some of them not getting in until 10 minutes to go, massive queues at the ticketing office as well because smart cards were not being activated and there was double booking of seats. My mate went along, he had booked his seat and somebody was sitting in his seat and he had to go and stand for the rest of the game, which he wasn't too bothered about standing, but again, it's somebody, a double booking a seat.
Yeah.
An email came days later from the club effectively putting the onus back on the fans. That is absolutely abysmal. It's time and time again, especially at the first game of the season, where there's always ticketing issues with smart cards not being activated. That's one issue, but the other issue is double booking seats that should have never happened. One thing I don't understand is it seems that the new communications director has been in place for a number of months now, over a year potentially, and we've done the big hard-hitting statements absolutely spot on, and see when it comes to basic communication issues such as ticketing, even the how to activate smart cards, how to get all your tickets and all that kind of thing, it's completely backwards. And from what I've seen and heard, the continuous credit card scheme has been absolutely woeful with you having to go in and purchase your tickets when you shouldn't even need to, because if you're on that scheme and you've selected the specific games, European, Cup games, friendlies, it should automatically come off your account. You shouldn't need to be logging in and going activating it. So the ticketing has been woeful for a number of years. It really needs to get sorted out very quick.
Definitely, Derek. I've heard from a few people as well that were exactly the same stories as you told me there. They had went in to sit in their seat and, their tickets had been double booked and stuff like that. For a club like Rangers, that just can't happen, Derek. That's a really, really poor show. And as you say, the amount of fans that ended up getting locked out as well and missed the game was absolutely shocking. So, as you say, that something seriously needs to happen there to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a case of, because you can get lots of online platforms that do ticketing. What we found out during the pandemic is there was a lot of online retailers, their websites weren't fit for mass volumes going on to the website and doing various things, because they don't generally need to have many occasions where you've got a lot of traffic at the one time. I don't know if it's Rangers' stance, the fact that, we've got 45,000 season ticket holders, a lot of them automatically renew anyway. For general ticketing, there's only maybe going to be about 5,000 tickets on general sale. We don't need to upgrade our ticketing system, but it's the same issues time and time again. And smart cards not being activated, that's just not good enough. As what's been said in other podcasts, there should have been at least a steward on at least every other turnstile so that you could get quick access to information. And all it should have been is a quick check on a wee computer or laptop. Have they got the ticket? Yes, right, let them in. simple things like that. And they all had to go and queue at the ticketing office. So that's a gripe for another day anyway. 4 changes from the Dundee United game. We lined up McGregor, Tavernier, Goldson, Balogun, Barisic, Arfield, Davis, Aribo, Wright, Morelos and Kent. On the subs bench we have McCrory, Bassey, Lundstrom, Helander, Hadji, Itten, Simpson, Patterson, Kelly, Sakala and Hogarth. We also released the third top that same day as well, and we ended up wearing it for the game as well because apparently Malmo never brought their full kit.
And again, Derek, that never bears well for us, does it?
Certainly not. No, second time in 2 seasons it's happened as well. So I don't know if it's a bit of mind games there from Malmo trying to get us to change, because I think their other kit was dark blue, I think, or something like that. So again, it just baffles me though as well that the colour choice for our away kit was black rather than just going white or something like that. Just the third choice kit, Dave, I don't like it at all.
Well, it's reminiscent, Derek, a long time ago in the days of Adidas being the Rangers kit sponsor. Brian Laudrup was playing, and I remember it was a sort of lilac top that we had as a sort of third kit that we only wore a couple of times. So I think they're trying to go back to that style as well. I wasn't a great fan of it then. I'm certainly no great fan of it now. And now, after this game, I really, really hope that we never wear it ever again.
No, but certainly in the first half, that was more like the Rangers we know. For the first 30 minutes at least, we came out the traps on fire, with pace, chasing every ball, hunting down every ball, hunting every Malmo player down when they had the ball, not giving Malmo an inch, and more importantly, not being timid in our challenges. We were passing about well, getting into space. The only disappointment was the deliveries could have been better to give us more clear-cut chances. However, we did go a goal up on the 18th minute with Morelos scoring. Kent got the ball on the left-hand side near the touchline, cuts inside rather than passing to the overlapping Barisic. He whips in a great cross to the back post. Morelos jumps up and it hits off Morelos. I think it ended up being the top of his shoulder into the right-hand side past the keeper. Don't care how they go in. They went in, and just a great start from us.
Absolutely brilliant, Derek. The crowd were well up for it. The noise at the stadium was tremendous, and it was an absolute perfect start, wasn't it? And Alfredo Morelos was just looking like the Alfredo Morelos that we all love. He wasn't giving them a second. He was bullying them. His hold-up play was fantastic. His link-up play was fantastic. And then there he is, put him up at the back post. You know, our all-time top European goal scorer does it again. Great start for us, Derek. And from then, as soon as we scored that goal, I thought, right, this is it. We're going to go on and score another couple, because just like what you said, Derek, that it was we had finally turned up to a match, and we were all over them. We really were, and they were looking shell-shocked. And I was absolutely delighted at that point.
Yep, absolutely. Moment of controversy though on the 34th minute, where it was a long ball played up to our box. McGregor comes out and he handles the ball right on the edge of the box, if not the line, which if it was on the line, perfectly legal. The linesman was in near perfect vision to give the foul, but didn't, and it was a ref who was about 10, 15, 20 yards further back, not in a good position to see it, and he gave a free kick and a yellow card. Now, I'm a bit baffled with this, because certainly Clive Tilsley was, the way he spoke, it sounded as if he thought what he said, because he said McGregor could be in trouble here. Yes. Is it almost as if he could have been sent off? Because I was under the impression that if it was a deliberate handball outside of the box by the keeper, it was a red card. Somebody online said that rules have changed with that now. Given the fact that we've seen about 1 million replays of it from a couple of different angles, it's still completely inconclusive. I have no idea how the referee could have gave that. And if it should have been a red card, then again, another baffling decision by the referee.
Totally, Derek. I was shitting myself at that point, because like you said, I heard Clive Tilsley say exactly the same thing, and I thought, that's Clive that works for Rangers. If he's saying that, McGregor's off here. It certainly looked as if he did handle it outside the box. I know a lot of people with their blue-tinted glasses on have said, oh, definitely no, it was right in the line. I was of the opinion it did. So I think we definitely got away with one there, Derek, and so did Alan McGregor. But like you, I was sure that it should have been a red card. So, but, at that point, when I was taking it, I was delighted it was the yellow and that, it wasn't anything more sinister.
Yep. And probably the biggest controversial decision of the game, it arguably changed the game for us as well, because on the 46th minute, Malmo got a red card for a second yellow card offence. Great name, Bonky Innocent. He was guilty in this time, but he was sent off for his second yellow. He had only been given his first yellow about 5 minutes previous as well for holding on to Morelos. It was a proper rugby tackle and kind of going back. The second was for a challenge in Goldson where he's shown the studs, and I don't know if he really made contact or not, to be honest. It's certainly shown the studs, so he can't have much complaint about that. And the way he angled his leg, kind of flicked it out, it looked worse than it was. Goldson as well, though, showing the studs. So yeah, but potentially a harsh red, but he put the ref in a position where he had to make a decision. So we've been blighted with that over the years, especially domestically, but in Europe as well. I'll take it.
Definitely. At that stage in the game, Derek, we're winning 1-0. We need to win by 2 to go through. We're at home. We're playing really well. We've got them under the cosh, and they get a man sent off. You know, that's the stuff that dreams are made of in games like this, or it should be. So, you know, absolutely delighted. Ibrox was rocking. We honestly thought at that point that, well, that's Malmo. They're just going to have to sit back now and defend for their lives. And that's us. You know, we'll do it now, no problem. And how wrong were we?
Yep. I mean, the last 15 minutes of the first half, we did slow down, perhaps because of our pace for the first 30 minutes, and we had maybe tired ourselves out. Malmo did get a wee bit more of the ball, and the game did get a wee bit scrappy, but Malmo didn't trouble us much at all. No. Into the second half, as you said, we were, you know, on cloud nine almost, because it was all in our favour. And then the second half started off much like the second half of last week's game. The only difference is we had a man advantage, and you wouldn't have even thought it. We were absolutely woeful. We couldn't string a pass together. We couldn't keep the ball. Malmo were all over us, and that resulted in them scoring 2 goals in 4 minutes from absolutely shocking defending again.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
First goal was on the 53rd minute when they drew level and made it 1 each. It was a throw-in on the right, a simple pass to the centre. Granted, it was a lovely reverse ball to the only player who was in the box. 2 of our players were nowhere near him, and their attacker hits the shot and slides it past McGregor's right side. Criminal defending. How you can lose a goal from a throw-in from that?
Unbelievable, Derek. I'm not taking anything away for the guy with the shot. It was a clinical strike, really good shot. But exactly like you said, Derek, from a throw-in, how is a guy allowed to receive the ball for a throw-in, control it, turn, pick his spot, shoot and score in the box? Absolutely criminal, Derek. Completely criminal. Unforgivable as well. It was like going back to the Mark Warburton type of defending, wasn't it? It was absolutely shocking. You can't do that at all. As you say, if it had been, you know, a shot that had been late, you know, a control, layoff, pass shot, something like that, you would say there. But, you know, the amount of time that the guy got to control the ball, turn and have a shot, absolutely terrible. And that was it. That deflated everyone instantly at the start of the second half, didn't it?
Well, I mean, if you think that's criminal, then I don't know what you're going to think about this next goal.
I know.
Because on the 57th minute, Malmo made it 2-1. And it was very similar to the first one, although probably even worse for the fact that it was a throw-in from the left, and 4 of our players were getting dragged out by 2 of their players out to the corner. One touch by the eventual goal scorer in the box, who had his back to goal, flicks it round 2 of his markers and shoots it into the back of net. Great skill, no take that away from him, but how he was able to receive that ball completely unmarked, turn his 2 defenders and then score the goal. That's 6 of our players were there to mark 3 of their players, and not 1 player picked up a man. Absolutely scandalous.
Shocking. Aribo, Balogun, you know, really need to hang their heads in shame, Derek, because they were the 2 guys that were right on them, and there was not one single challenge put in on the guy when he had the ball at his feet, when he was able just to turn 2 players, Derek. And I'm not letting Alan McGregor away with it either, Derek, because although, you know, you're expecting our defenders to deal with it, I thought his positioning was really suspect as well for him shooting. I think that, you know, he made it a lot easier for the guy. He picked his spot as well because he was really far over and left a big gap. So all round, Derek, and you know me, I don't slag off Alan McGregor ever because he's phenomenal, but the whole defence, Derek, from goalkeeper right through the 2 centre halves, and as I say, Aribo as well, absolute criminal. How any team, Derek, any professional team at this level can go from winning 1-0 against 10 men in the space of 5 minutes to be getting beat 2-1. It's just, it doesn't happen, does it? These things do not happen. Unforgivable for me that way when it comes to defence. I don't know what Steven Gerrard must have been thinking as well, but he must have been really sitting there saying, what the hell has happened to my team here when they can't defend the basics like that? As you say, the first goal, absolutely shocking, but that one is just, it's unforgivable defending, Derek. It really is.
Yep. And then Malmo sat back and we played right into that trap by only getting the ball wide, attempting to cross, and more often than not, it doesn't beat the first man, or it was overcooked, rinse and repeat, because that's all we done the rest of the night. We didn't change the style at all. We changed the personnel, again, too late. And all we've done is put shite crosses in. This is what that baffles me. We haven't signed a big target man for the centre forward position. So combine that with the fact that we've got a small attack and they've got a tall defence. And then
massive defence, Derek. Massive defence. The guys were huge. I don't think that they had in there.
I don't think there was a man there less than 6'4" or something like that, because they were all, as you said, giants. But you want to try and vary it up, and when Sakala did come on, I think he did try and play things through the middle, and we got a couple of shots off and they were deflected out wide, but he was the only one really that tried anything in that second half, anything different. I mean, we dominated possession, granted, but what's the point if you're going to do absolutely nothing with it? And as you said, last season we were terrorising people down that wing and putting in inch perfect crosses. This season it's just been absolutely abysmal so far. But that was 3 losses on the bounce. We obviously went out of the Champions League qualifiers bitterly disappointed, into the Europa League qualifiers, which we'll get to later on. And we went into the Dunfermline game, as I said in the post-match, almost in crisis mode, because, from only losing 3 games all season last year, we've now lost 3 in the bounce this year.
I know. Derek, I've seen it all happen before. I hate all this. We spoke about lightning striking twice and stuff like that. Over the years, I've seen it happen to us before against teams like AEK Athens and Sparta Prague, IFK Gothenburg. I mean, it's happened time and time again. We have went into Champions League qualifying matches expecting to win, and the sucker punch hits us, or we just don't turn up. It's happened so many times. I was hoping under Steven Gerrard our mindset would have changed that way, and it's the curse of the Champions League qualifiers for Rangers has struck yet again. Derek, I would prefer us from now on to be playing an elite team to get into the qualifying games. I really would, because I feel that when we are the underdog, especially in Europe, that is when we turn up for games. And we were all sitting saying before the Malmo game, that's a winnable tie, and we'll go on. And we were looking, at the next game after that, if it was going to be Ludo Gretz or Olympiacos, who we would fancy out of these games. I don't think that us playing teams like this are good for us as a team going forward. I think that we really need to be playing elite teams to really raise our game to be going through. And from now on, if we get into that position again, I'll be looking, and if it's going to be a tie that everybody thinks that we're going to get beat, then that's a game I think that we would probably do better in, because that's been our mentality in Europe. And I really did think at half time that there was a bit of complacency in that game. We were winning 1-0 against 10 men. I think the team just thought they were going to have to turn up in the second half and, we'd go out and win easily, and it didn't need to happen like that, and we were completely shell-shocked by it. As I say, just really bitterly disappointed by the whole event. I really was.
I think as well, the sending off, probably it was kind of harsh, so that probably lit a fire in the belly of Malmo, and that worked completely against us.
Yes.
And as you said, combine that with, we just thought we had to turn up in the second half, and we were there, but just another disappointment. But anyway, we'll go into a slightly better game now, because it was on Friday the 13th of August. It was a 5-0 win at home to Dunfermline in the League Cup. Now, unfortunately, it was another game that I never got to see because I was away with my wife that night, so I never got to see that, and I think I would have been murdered if I watched the football instead of...
Like you, Derek, I was working, so I only got to see the first half, which was probably the best half to watch, because that's where the vast majority of the goals was. So I did get to see the first half before I started my work, and as you say, it was a game that couldn't come quick enough for us. We needed to get a good result in the match, and we certainly did.
Yep. So we made 8 changes from the Malmo game, which is kind of surprising because I don't think many people expected as many as that. Certainly 1 or 2, but maybe not 8 changes. We lined up McLaughlin, Patterson, Goldson, Simpson, Bassey, Lundstrom, Kamara, Aribo, Hadji, Roof and Wright. On the subs bench we have McCrory, Tavernier, Helander, Itten, Kent, Morelos, Kelly, Barisic and Arfield. So completely in control, started off with fire in our belly and we didn't let up. We were absolutely relentless. Got to take into account the fact that it's Dunfermline we're playing. However, they did sit back, which has been our undoing lately. So the big difference this time, though, was the delivery of the balls. Calvin Bassey was absolutely immense.
Yep, fantastic.
Deadly and also involved in 2 of the goals. First goal was on the 2nd minute with Lundstrom scoring, getting his first goal for Rangers. Full of possession right from kick-off, a couple of throw-ins, poor cross from the right from Aribo. However, Graham Dorrans gets the ball on the edge of his box, passes backwards to nobody. I've no idea what he was trying to do. To the left side of the box, Bassey runs in, cuts it back to Lundstrom on the edge of the box, who in the centre, who smashes it high into the net.
Well done, Agent Dorrans.
Well, he wasn't finished for the night, was he? So we'll get into that. Second goal was on the 17th minute with Wright scoring. A quick counter with an exquisite ball from the halfway line from Hadji, which opens up Wright. He picks the ball up outside the box, cuts it inside to outfox the defender, gets the just inside of the box and hits a shot past the keeper. Brilliant goal. And Hadji, that's the quality that boy can bring.
Exactly, yeah. That's what we're looking for from Hadji, isn't it? We're looking for him to unlock defences, and as you say, that pass through, absolutely exquisite. And fair play to Wright, he really did look in the mood and, terrorised Dunfermline that whole of that first half. And great finish by him, managed to stay on side, through into the goal, and a great finish and a really good time as well, because that's when Dunfermline sort of knew that we were going to be getting more. And great response, Derek. I know what you're saying. It is only Dunfermline, they're a championship team, but it is very important that Rangers went out straight away and proved to the supporters, that they were going to go for it, because it could easily have turned out to be a sluggish affair, like you said, but thankfully it didn't. And again, great finish by Scott Wright there.
Yep. And if it wasn't put to bed then, 2 minutes later, it certainly was, because on the 19th minute, Hadji made it 3-0 with probably the goal of the night for me.
Absolutely sensational, yep.
Aribo to Bassey down the left side. Bassey lets it run, gets near to the goal line, plays an outstanding curling cross right to the back post to find Hadji, who only has to jump up and head the ball into the back of the net. Just the initial move there and the vision from Aribo to play that ball to Bassey, the pace of Bassey, considering the absolute unit he's become now, and get that whipped ball across, just a fast-paced ball, a lot of curve on it, right to the head of Hadji. Outstanding.
Absolutely, Derek, pinpoint cross, and that's what I've been saying. That's the type of ball that we're used to seeing Borna Barisic putting into a box, isn't it? And he's just not been doing that recently. And as you say, Bassey, absolute athlete, a boy. He was tremendous all night, tremendous cross, and an absolutely fantastic header. But as you say, it was all about the measure and the quality of the ball in, because Hadji didn't really have to jump up. He's not the biggest of guys, is he? But absolute pinpoint cross to him, and he hammered the header into the net. Absolutely tremendous goal.
Yep. And we weren't finished in the first half, because we made it 4-0 on the 33rd minute with Roof scoring. Lots of possession, ending in Kamara in the middle of the park, took it forward, passes to Aribo, who cuts it a lovely flick into the box, into the path of Roof, who controls, cuts it to the right, and then unleashes a shot high into the net. Another great goal.
Yeah, it really was. Clinical finishing by Kamara Roof. Derek, I have been very critical of the guy last season coming in, but I actually sat and watched, we've been watching the team without him in the team, and I think he brings a bit of sort of confidence and cockiness up front, I think, when he's playing now, because I think he's full of confidence as well, and it's certainly a player that we've missed without a shadow of a doubt. And that, again, it proved it, because he was involved in a hell of a lot of the attacking play going forward, and it was just a great finish by him. Really, really clinical stuff.
Yep. So second half, if we were completely in control in the first half, then the second half was really just like a training session.
Yeah, it was,
Dunfermline offered nothing. I don't think McLaughlin had anything to do, not even a kick out, to be honest. But Dunfermline changed their system to make it more difficult to break down. Combine that with the game being absolutely done, our players didn't need to push the boat out. Still, we had a lot of possession, knocking the ball about well and probing. And other than the penalty, we couldn't break them down again. Now, the penalty was on the 58th minute. The ball was worked into the box. Dorns with a challenge from behind on Roof, clearly taking him out, and the ref pointed to the spot. So, as you said, Agent Dorns, job done.
Exactly, yeah. No, it was Derek. Clear-cut penalty.
Yep. And Roof made it 5-0 on the 59th minute. Penalty hit to the right side, past the keeper. So, certainly with the slow start to the season, with the changes made in this game, not only will it be giving Gerrard a potential selection headache, but it's a reminder to some of the players that we've got cover for your position. So if you don't start showing more, you'll be dropped. It's as simple as that. So the draw was made for the quarterfinals as well after the Celtic Hearts game on the Sunday, and we've been drawn against Livingston at home, and it's to be played on the weekend of the 20th and 21st of November. So a wee bit to wait before that.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. But again, Derek, it's a home tie. We've got to be happy with that one. And here's hoping, that there's no more slip-ups now.
Nope, certainly not. So, in the table, I'm not going to get into positions, but we've played 2, 1-1, drawn 0, lost 1, scored 3, conceded 1, goal difference +2, and points 3. Games to come, still a massive month to go, and I know we're on the 16th of August already. So, this Thursday coming, at home to
Alashkert.
I'm glad you said that because I couldn't pronounce it, and I think I've spelt it wrong anyway. So Alashkert. So that's a Europa League playoff game, and that's a 8 o'clock kickoff. So a massive game as well. Glad the first game's at home. Just want to get the tie done and dusted there. And then again, though, as you were saying, Dave, they're an unknown quantity really. So it's better if we're maybe if it was a tougher tie, so that we kind of knew what to expect, and we never got that complacency, which I think the team have been suffering from this year so far. Then it's on to Sunday the 22nd of August away to Ross County. That's in the Premiership. That's a 3 p.m. kickoff. Then it's the return leg against Alashkert on the Thursday the 26th of August. That's a pain in the arse because it's a 4 o'clock PM time. So an utter pish time. I'm not going to likely be able to see much of it. Dave, I think, will you be able to see it?
Yeah, I'll certainly be able to watch it, Derek. But I'm working that night, but I'll be able to watch the game in full. Hopefully, Derek, it will be a comfortable one for us because we will have ran up a cricket score in the first game. I'm saying hopefully. As you say, I know nothing about this team whatsoever, and going by what's been happening recently, we can't count our chickens until they've hatched. So we'll just have to wait and see how that one goes. So
you're on post-match pod duty that night then?
Yes, and Derek, I'm hoping that it's a bit longer than my Dundee United post-match because I was so pissed off with the team that day. There was so little happened for us that I really didn't have that much to talk about in the game. So apologies to everyone that listened to my post-match after that, but if you'd actually watched the game, you would have saw exactly that there wasn't much for me to talk about. So here's hoping. I've got a lot of goals to talk about in that one, Derek.
Yes, and much like what happened when we went to play UEFA a few years ago in the Europa League playoffs as well, we've got an Old Firm game 3 days later because on Sunday the 29th of August, we're at home to Celtic in the Premiership. That's a midday kickoff. So again, I know what happened with UEFA when we had a long distance to travel into Russia. It's Armenia this time, not quite as much of a distance, but it's got a pain in the arse for the players as well. It's a pain in the arse as well because I'd arranged on this Thursday coming to go out with my mate expecting Rangers to be in a Champions League qualification tie tomorrow, and it gets moved to the Thursday. So pain in the hoop there. Rangers destroying your social life as well. So
destroy your happiness and destroy your social life, Derek.
Nearly destroyed my marriage the other night as well.
Exactly. Yes, I know.
So all to play for, lots of interesting ties, very important ties. Can't take the foot off the gas at all, and we need to just build on the Dunfermline game.
Definitely, and here's hoping, Derek, that this is the last time that we have a negative down the tunnel onto the pitch section for a long time. I want that to be finished and everyone to be a joyous listen to for all the listeners out there.
It's always joyous with us, Dave, and our dulcet tones. So, More dulcet tones coming next because we go into the classic match.
Dave goes into the toilet because I'm needing a pee. Give me 2 seconds.
And there it is. The final whistle's gone. Rangers have won the European Cup Winners' Cup.
So, Dave, you've got a UEFA Cup tie to go over this time, haven't you?
Yeah, Derek. I thought again. I've been thinking a lot about Lightning striking twice, as I keep saying, and European games and failures in the past and how it's happened to us again and stuff like that. And when we got knocked out of the Champions League and we're into this Europa League qualifying game against an unknown entity in this team, or unknown quantity, whatever you want to say, I was looking back at games similarly like that, and I came across a game that was played in 1998 where, again, in the UEFA Cup, we were drawn against PAOK Salonika, a game that we thought that we should go out and win quite comfortably, but again, against a bit of an unknown, not quite sure what to expect. And this is possibly what I think could maybe happen again, you know, with the way that things have been working out for us in Europe. But going into the Rangers team that day, the Rangers team lined up with Antti Niemi in goal, Sergio Perini, Lorenzo Amoruso, Craig Moore, Arthur Newman, Andre Kanchelskis, Ian Ferguson, Barry Ferguson, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Rod Wallace and Gordon Durie. Now, it was actually a debut for Arthur Newman, so, you know, it was one of Dick Advocaat's early games in charge for Rangers. And it was actually PAOK that had an early chance. They had a shot wide for the edge of the box after a mix-up and sort of tangled legs. Lorenzo Amoruso sort of fallen, getting tangled up with the attacker, it fallen to another one of their players. They actually got through, had a shot. Thankfully, it was wide of the post. Then in the 7th minute, Gabriel Amato had to come on for Gordon Durie after a bad tackle by the Salonika defender on Gordon Durie. He got a yellow card, but Gordon Durie, unfortunately, his match was cut short. He had to come off, and it was a new Argentinian striker, Gabriel Amato, that came on to replace him. Tackles were flying at that stage, and Salonika down to 10 men after a reckless tackle on Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's second yellow card for the defender who had just put in the shocking tackle on Gordon Durie. So that gave us a lift for the supporters in there. Then a chance for Rangers, a free kick on the edge of the box after Perini was scythed down again. That was another yellow card, but just past the post there. There was a shot by Barry Ferguson from the free kick. But then Ferguson again getting more and more into the game. This was really the season that Barry Ferguson was emerging as being a real star for Rangers. He was getting onto the ball all the time. And it was Barry Ferguson, a great ball out to the right wing to Andre Kanchelskis, who then swung in a ball to Rod Wallace. He had a bullet header. We thought it was going to burst the net, just inches wide there of the post, really unlucky. Then Ian Ferguson in there. This was a type of game that Ian Ferguson loved because the tackles are flying. And the thing that I thought was hilarious was it was Barry Ferguson, Van Bronckhorst and Kanchelskis that were all getting targeted. Not one of their players put in a hard tackle on Ian Ferguson at all during the whole game. I think they knew what type of player he was. He was right in there. He wins the ball in the midfield, charges forward, plays a great ball out to the right wing to Andre Kanchelskis. He cuts inside, he fires a shot, but it's straight at the goalkeeper. So still 0-0 at that point. Rangers well on top, but the tackles were still going in. They were, you could see quite clearly that they knew the likes of Van Bronckhorst and Ferguson were sort of instrumental to our team. It was them that were getting targeted. Then on the 38th minute, Gabriel Amato, he steals the ball from the defenders just inside the PAOK half. He shoots, unfortunately though, straight at the goalkeeper. So another great chance there. And then out of nowhere, half chance for Salonika. A shot from distance, swerved just at the last minute, but thankfully just past the post, still 0-0. And then just before half-time, free kick to Rangers on the left wing, swung in, headed by Gabriel Amato. He heads over at close range, really should have done better at that stage. And the half-time whistle blew, so still 0-0. Rangers playing against 10 men, hadn't broken the deadlock, a few grumbles, weren't quite sure how it was going to go. That was still in the days of away goals. We knew that anything from that team to score could have been an absolute disaster. Thankfully, we didn't have to wait long until Rangers eventually broke the deadlock, because at the start of the second half, Rangers really were piling on the pressure, and then on the 56th minute, Rangers took the lead.
Wallace a little bit slow, he turns well on that, there's a chip the ball across goal, Martin Chesney! The deadlock is broken by the Russian. Excellent play by Wallace. And the pressure at last has paid off. The danger was always coming round the left-hand side. Look at Wallace, I got it first, he might have lost possession. But look how creative he was at Kanchelskis. Scores his first goal for his new club.
As Van Bronckhorst with a through ball to Rod Wallace on the left wing, he crossed the ball into the box, and a fantastic header by Andrei Kanchelskis past the goalkeeper to make it 1-0 to Rangers. Great ball in, great guided header into the bottom corner. Goalkeeper had no chance, and it was a fantastic start to the second half for Rangers. Then PAOK had a chance again. They had a shot from a free kick outside the box, but straight at Antti Niemi, who held onto the ball. Then Barry Ferguson, he got forward the ball. He had a shot for the edge of the box, but hit it high over the bar. Really, she should have done better. A few minutes after that, Andrei Kanchelskis on the right wing. Great cross into Giovanni Van Bronckhorst on the edge of the box. He had a first-time shot. Fantastic technique, but straight at the goalkeeper again. So, really unlucky there. But then on the 65th minute, we doubled our advantage and we scored the second goal.
Looks to be up for it. Wallace. Really chance to put it. A brilliant goal by Wallace. Almost geometric perfection. Sliding it away from the goalkeeper. That's his second goal of the season for Rangers. And you could not have been more precise. Beautifully angled. He saw that little aperture and he found it.
Great play from Rangers. Alberts, who was just on as a substitute, he plays the ball up to Gabriel Amato. First time pass to Rod Wallace on the edge, who fires a shot low, curled into the bottom corner. Tremendous finish by Rod Wallace. That made it 2-0 to Rangers, and the crowd all gave a great sigh of relief there as we got our second goal. Then we really should have had more. Andrei Kanchelskis on the right wing, crossed into Gabriel Amato, header from distance saved by the goalkeeper. And then substitute for Rangers, Van Bronckhorst came off. He had a fantastic game. And it was Rino Gattuso who came on. I was trying to think if Gattuso and Ferguson had played in the same team at any point. That reminded me that they did. The 90th minute, George Alberts, unlucky not to score the third. A thunderous shot for the edge of the box. A fantastic save by the goalkeeper of Salonika. But that was the end of the game for Rangers. 2-0 victory at Ibrox. The away leg a week later saw Rangers go through to the next round because it was a 0-0 result over there. So Rangers going through 2-0 in aggregate. And as I said, Derek, I've got a funny feeling that this could possibly be a repeat of that type of performance for us. Still, early at the start of the season, playing a team that we don't really know much about, that'll be feeling quite plucky, trying to, take something away from us. So if it works out like that, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Yes, I mean, you've got to remember that was still a team trying to find its feet, brand new team as well, and was only a few weeks away from that near shock result against Shelbourne.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so testing times early on, but certainly we came through them that season well. So
certainly did, yep.
Yes, so we'll have another classic match the next episode. It's now time for the news. So, Dave, as ever, we've got a lot to get through in the news, but I'm going to go off on a bit of a rant here.
Yes, I kind of thought you did, Derek, because listeners listening last night, both me and you obviously share the Twitter page for the podcast, and I was sitting at work last night and my phone almost fell off my desk with the amount of times that I was getting notifications and it was vibrating, and it was all to do with something I'm sure you're about to talk about here. So I'll let you get into it, Derek.
Yes, so Club 1872, no secret, over the years that I've been sceptical about them since its inception. I was a member of the RST, it was paying monthly into Rangers First as well. And when they merged, I didn't continue my membership for a number of reasons, as did a lot of people. One of them is I didn't believe what they wanted to achieve was actually possible. Fast forward a number of years and a number of unexplained board resignations later, I think my scepticism is justified. There's been poor governance, dwindling membership with no apparent plan to build the membership, no communication despite what some say. There's been no published minutes of board meetings, which are a legal requirement to maintain as part of the Companies Act, and I believe that because it's a members' organisation as well, they should be published. There's been no board meetings even via Zoom. There's been no AGM. There's been no elections. The accounts were published overdue, which incurred a fine. This has led to a group of requisitioners, the most prominent one being Robert Marshall, I believe, of the Loudon Tavern, looking for an EGM to effectively oust the current board. That's not before, over a series of months, they've tried to get answers about numerous questions that still lay unanswered. A number of issues, allegations, questions, whatever word you want to use for that Robert has put to them without answers. The ins and outs of all of those questions, allegations or whatever are on social media to see, so I'm not going to cover them on this podcast because there may be legal implications there. And that's kind of been found out with the fact that Robert Marshall has had a visit and questioned by the police and he was arrested with no further action as well. So I'm not going to get into that part of it. What I'm angry about is that Rangers fans more than most should know about how important proper governance and transparency is. It's absolutely imperative to anything that we do. I'm sure it was one of the foundations of Rangers First as well, and I believe it should have carried over to Club 1872. Since its inception, whenever you've asked a question about them, online especially, some people online have met you with abuse. Like when I asked if they had paid for the adverts within Ibrox, or was it given by the Rangers board as a freebie. The fact that they were also appearing to be too close to the actual Rangers board, it's been pretty much confirmed that they appear to be far too close to the board, given how close Dave King has been with them and the fact that they've set up the deal. This is not a slight on Dave King. I'm not getting into that as well. We owe that man more than we could ever imagine for effectively saving our club. The actual deal itself, though, that they've agreed with, from my knowledge, no members were ever told about it. Never mind asked to vote on it. That's despite somebody I was arguing with last night claiming they were asked to vote on it. Other sources from the requisitioners, they gave a podcast today on Heart and Hand. They were not consulted with it at all, the members. The explanation for that was given when the board members, they've done a social media campaign at the time to say that the main purpose of Club 1872 was to acquire shares wherever and whenever they can. That's absolutely correct. However, the Dave King deal is a £13 million deal and it was due to be over 3 years. That is an astronomical amount of money to try and to claw in. You would think that the members should have a say on something that massive. It's not like the deal that Club 1872 done with to get Mike Ashley shares. That had to be done in a specific way to get them wrangled off him. And thankfully they did do that. That's one of the major things that they have done correctly. And if I've picked up on the podcast that was out today correctly, the revenue from the accounts over the last year was £400,000. So how long is it going to take to get that £13 million in? Now, in December, they announced the Dave King deal. In January, they said that they would give the club directly up to £2.5 million by June for a share issue to go direct with the club. From what I see, I think it's only been about a fifth of that money that they've given, only about £400,000 to £500,000. If I'm wrong with that, somebody correct me, please. They've ended up having to get Dave King to extend their deal for another year or 2 years, 3 years, or however long it will be to effectively put more money directly into the club rather than pay him money. Now, parking some of the allegations aside for a minute, they don't have to be doing anything dodgy. Just the impression that they are is enough for me. And it was the same with the SPFL. It's the same with Celtic. It's the same with anyone. You don't have to be doing dodgy. You just need to give the impression you are. And when everything is met with no comment, insulting comments from certain people, and all the cloak and dagger deals, what else are you meant to think? Now, If you're happy with Club 1872 and its current form and its current board members, that's absolutely fine. That is your right. But then you can't go on to belittle other people's concerns and then make up utter shite about their reasons for their concerns. They're paying members just as much as you. Someone was trying to imply to me last night that I must be a part of Robert Marshall's crew as I support his actions to try and get an AGM. They even mentioned about me going to his pub. Now, Dave, between me and you, I think we've been into his pub about half a dozen times, even if that. Someone leveled at me that folk like Robert Marshall think they're the boss of fans. Now, I've never met the guy. I don't know him personally, so I don't know if that's what he really thinks. But you see that time and time again that there's an element of our support who get very uppity and throw that accusation about several times when a prominent name gets mentioned. You've seen it time and time again with David Edgar, with Robert Marshall, with his son, the SLO, with Craig Houston. The list is almost endless because it happens every time somebody puts their head above the parapet. Folk appear more bothered about who's asking the questions rather than the fact that the questions that are being asked are very, very pertinent. And it's the same old he doesn't speak for me part of the argument. It's pathetic. He may not speak for you, but he's garnered enough support by many other members, and that's the thing. They've obviously got the same questions and same concerns over the governance of the Club 1872 board. You can't turn around and say that Robert is orchestrating a smear campaign on the current Club 1872 board and then imply, without any evidence at all, that he's orchestrating a sexist coup. That's basically what somebody implied to me last night, and he never denied it for the fact that he made the point that all Robert's trying to do is oust a female director and install all male directors in her place. That's utter bullshit. And that's the point I made, is it doesn't matter what gender or who the person is. If they're the right person for the job, I don't care who they are. I mean, I suspect the two people that I was arguing with online have got personal ties to the current board as it stands just now, given their vociferous defence and ultimately plain ignorance of the situation. Strangely, they were chopping and changing their argument quite a bit last night as well with me. They were going on about one thing and then quickly changing it to another thing as well. I mean, I had to laugh as well because I made the point that Robert Marshall is a successful businessman with a successful business. He's got nothing to gain other than hassle through all this. So why would he risk his businesses and risk his reputation on that? My point was completely skewed with that, and they made out as if I was just trusting a successful businessman. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, why would he risk his business and his reputation over something that he's just trying to stir a bit of shit? So I know it was a lot to take in here, Dave. I know I went off in a rant, but it angers me when people don't allow people their own opinions, and then see when something like this happens with the governance of a board. Can you imagine if these same people turned round to Dave King and the Three Bears and just said, oh, yous are just shit-stirring. Yous are just making accusations up about the Sports Direct deal. And Dave, if I can remember back right, there were a few folk out there like that, weren't there?
Yeah, no, there was, Derek. There was. Going. I mean, what I found hilarious, as I say, I was sitting watching your debate last night on Twitter with a few people, and you get accused of being a supporter and a follower, and knowing this guy, it's quite like you said. I think I've been in the Loudon Tavern maybe twice in the last 10 years. When they know this guy, if he was to walk past me and slap me in the face, and I'm sure you're the same. So. A bit ridiculous there. There are always people, Derek, that are looking to try and either... I don't know if the guy, and other people out there are trying to defend certain ways or think that maybe because they have been a staunch follower that they've got to defend every single thing that happens, even if they know themselves that it's not right. I think the questions that you asked, Derek, you certainly weren't out there trying to stir the shit or trying to, it was genuine questions that you were looking to find out. And as you said, you didn't feel right about everything that's been going on, and quite rightly so. There should be a lot of questions getting asked, and when they're constantly coming up against a brick wall, not being consulted, and as you say, that's a hell of a lot of money that that they were going to be pledging, to try and get these shares. I mean, it looks as if it's not going to be materialising and no one seems to know what the hell's going on, then, you're damn right. There should be a lot of questions getting asked.
I just don't think some people have learned anything over the last 10 years when it comes to Rangers, our fans, the governance of things. If something's not right, then damn right you're meant to ask questions, because ultimately what they're doing is, it's the same with the Murray deniers out there as well. Oh, everything's fine. He said everything's fine, and not actually looking through the lens at this. A
lot of these things now, Derek, in the last few years have all came from that. We went years and years and years thinking, it's David Murray, he's got, all this money that he's going to plough into Rangers, so it doesn't matter. We didn't have to ask any questions. This man's governing us forever. We're never going to get into any financial bother. He'll fix it. He'll, throw a couple of million in at that, a couple of million in at this, to make sure, and then, sure as fate. Look what happened to us 10 years ago. So a lot of people, quite rightly, what you said, Derek, everything that's happened to us over the last 10 years, we should be scrutinising everything that goes on financially, making sure that everything looks correct, everything looks right, and, that everybody has a proper say, especially on something like that, Derek, when it's supposed to be for the fans, that are, it's supposed to be the fans that are going out, a group led by fans to try and acquire these shares, to get money back into the club. And as you say, when they're getting told nothing and being kept in the dark, there needs to be questions asked.
I mean, this is the frightening thing as well. If the current board stay as it is just now and they keep going on like this, and then they do eventually, which would be incredible because, as I said, membership is completely dwindling. If they do get into a position of power, they are in a position of power of our club. And if they're acting like this just now, what are they going to be like when they're in power in our club? They're never going to get, I mean, it was 25% plus one. That was the goal, to have some sort of control.
Yes.
They have a potential to get into a very influential position. So if they're acting like this just now, what is it going to be like if they do actually get into power? That is my big worry. You cannot have something like this happening. The secrecy, the lack of transparency, everything that's happened. I mean, the chucking out the chaplain. It's one thing he had to resign, and obviously he sent Mark Dingwall a big letter. He's had to resign from that position, and then they effectively chucked him out Club 1872. Why? Because he was telling the truth. What's there to be done about this? If Club 1872 have the board members just now have got nothing to hide, then rather than sending childish, targeted emails out to their members about the issue, they will be open and honest about it and go on things like Heart and Hand and explain themselves exactly as their case is. Now, Heart and Hand, on the back of, or at the same time of us getting this interview with the requisitioners, they said that they had asked Club 1872 if they want to come on and do a separate podcast or whatever. No reply, which is what's happened all throughout this time. So something needs to change there. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We'll probably get some heat from somebody for saying what I've said here, but I'm not caring now, because if you want people to part with their hard-earned cash, given the fact that you could plough all that money into Rangers just now and make a difference in Rangers, then sorry, you need to act a wee bit more professional and be above board and be completely transparent, because the lack of transparency is how we ended up in the position we are. Simple as. But anyway, moving on from that rant, I'll move on to another rant. Because Dave, I was in Glasgow with the wife on Friday. It's the first time since the Sauchiehall Street store opened that I've ever had a chance to get in there. I had the full intention to buy the new home top. None. Absolutely really? None to be found. It's the first time I've actually had to deal with customer issues, but for one of your main stores in Glasgow to not have stock of the main kit you're going to be wearing this season, completely unacceptable. I mean, particularly as I don't really like the away and the third kit anyway, but I think they had the junior kits with the utilita.
So no adult sizes at all, Derek?
No adult size home kits at all. I was fully prepared to buy the top there. None.
That's quite incredible. As I say, when the new top first got unveiled, Derek, I went into that very store about a week later, and it was certainly full, and I bought my son the top, because at that stage I wasn't quite sure. The top, I told you that myself, it's grown on me ever since, and I actually really like it now, so I'm quite annoyed that I didn't buy myself the top. But That's quite incredible, Derek. I don't know, do you know what the situation's like at the actual store at the stadium? Are they in the exactly the same position?
I've no idea. I never went that far, to be honest. But from what I've seen, the snippets online, people are saying some of the stock's been poor as well. So I know we've bought. I think we announced that we had sold something like 250,000 tops or something like that, which is absolutely incredible. But Castore should have really known the demand and especially how big last season was for us, the successful season it was, and we could have, sold a lot more. But there we go. If you don't have the stock, then you don't have the stock. It's pretty poor.
Yes, no, it is, Derek. And going again, still a lot of issues with the quality of the tops as well. I don't know if I had mentioned it in the last podcast or not, but friend of the pod, Graham from 5 Stars, had went in and bought his brand new top actually at the stadium. Put his top on. We went and watched the Real Madrid game, and by the time the game was finished, all of the 32 Red sponsor was peeling off his brand new top, and he'd only had it on for the duration of the game. So I saw that with my own eyes. So a lot of issues still there. I see it constantly on social media, people having issues with the quality of the strips. I haven't had any issues at all with last season's top or the one that I got my son this year. Hasn't been any issues. It's been washed loads and loads of times. It still looks perfect, but obviously still a lot of issues there, Derek.
Yep, absolutely. Next story here is Tory MSP Murdo Fraser wrote an article slating the SNP and stating that they have a Rangers problem and have been guilty of naked hostility towards the club. He stated that there are a number of politicians within the ranks of Labour, Conservative and Lib Dems who are open about who they support, both of Rangers and Celtic, but not one SNP MP or MSP identifies as a Rangers fan. He also slammed the SNP about their hypocrisy and double standards toward us compared with Celtic and the Tartan Army as well. Absolutely bang on the money there from Murdo Fraser. I know he gets a lot of stick, and I can't really be arsed if you don't like somebody just because they're a Tory, but he's fucking bang on with this one here.
Nothing that we didn't already know, Derek, but it is refreshing that someone as high profile as him is going to be highlighting this. As you say, he's took a hell of a lot of flack for coming out and saying it, as to be expected, but good that finally someone has came out and actually said something that we all knew has been going on for quite some time.
Yep. Next thing here is a couple of stories about transfers. Jordan Jones has left us to go to Wigan on a 3-year deal. So quite clearly, I think an attitude problem there with Jordan Jones, because I think he has got the ability.
Definitely, yep.
Just, I think, one, he blotted his copybook straight away with the Celtic tackle and ruling himself out, and then the COVID breach, and then going down to London. It was just, for the final, it was just never going to happen for him, was it?
Yeah, no, I know, Derek. And again, a player the likes, the same as guys like Josh Windass and, players that had played for Rangers, it will dawn on him very quickly. The size of the club that he was playing for, the chance that he had, and the fact that he's blown it. So, again, it'll be full of regrets for him. I'm not going to be nasty to the guy. I wish him all the best. I did honestly think that he was going to be a good player for Rangers, a good squad player to have, but it wasn't to be, and we need to move on for there.
Yep. And the next one is Glenn Middleton is away back on loan to St Johnstone. It's a season-long loan with an option recall. I can't really see him making it us at all, can you?
No, but Derek, to be fair to the guy, well done to him, because he's a young guy. He's ended up getting a winner's medal for Rangers for the league and 2 cup medals for St Johnstone last season. So, I think it's the best move for him all round. He obviously feels a part of that squad, a winning squad, because let's be honest, St Johnstone were tremendous last season under Callum Davidson. They won both cup competitions. They were really unlucky last week. They had a great result against Galatasaray, and then that they were unlucky in their home leg as well. So another player, Derek, who I think is a very, very good player, but I don't think he's ever going to become a regular at Rangers. So if he's going to get his chance at a club like St Johnstone and actually go and win some trophies, then good on him, and we wish him all the best. And who knows, if he goes out and has an absolutely sensational season, we will have the chance to bring him back. But like you, I can't see him playing for us again.
No. Next story here, should Rangers and Celtic qualify for the Europa League group stages and we end up finishing third in the groups, then we go into an additional knockout round against one of the second place Europa Conference League finishers with a place in the last 16 of the Europa Conference League for the winner. So another kind of parachute down into the next competition of Europe if we finish third. So it's and apparently because of this Conference League getting instated, there's less teams in the Europa League this year, so it's going to be a harder opposition as well, because they are all champions as well, so apparently. So for money more than anything, I think we need to definitely get into that Europa League. So at least if we do finish third, then there's a parachute. But at the same time, you know, we should be hopefully wanting to get out that group again.
Yeah, again, Derek, it comes down. I hope we get a more sort of formidable group with more formidable teams in it, because I do feel, like I said earlier on, that we always raise our game against the bigger teams. So I will just have to wait and see what happens there.
Need to wait and see if we qualify first.
Exactly. Yes.
Yep. Next one here is the debate over Rangers charging for media access rumbles on. However, over the weekend, there have been a number of stories which have highlighted why exactly we're doing this. Firstly, it was claimed that Katic had been told he's been sold. Both Rangers and Katic rubbished it, and the plan has always been to get him out on a decent loan and back up to full strength after being out for a year. Then you have got a few stories, one from Robocop Proven about Gerrard being under pressure, not getting the backing from the board. Our transfers have been poor. Contrast that with the amazing news from all fucking amazing Celtic that they are world beaters because they beat fucking Hearts, because they beat that other bloody jabroni team.
Jabroni.
and then
they beat a world-class Dundee team 6-0.
Aye, exactly. And then the best of all was trotting out that amazing superstar Paddy McCourt, claiming that this new Japanese player that they've got is going to be worth 30 million.
Yeah. Obviously, Derek. I'm quite surprised that they weren't quoting more than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and then I think tonight we've apparently turned down 3 offers for Yanis Hadji as well. There was no credible sources anyway, no comments, no nothing. You know, they've just said Rangers have turned down 3 bids. I mean, everybody in their dug knows over the last 3 years, Rangers have been a closed shop when it comes to transfers. That's what made me even more annoyed about some folk on Rangers Twitter with the whole Katic story, completely believing it. And it's weird because most people do slam the red tops, and then see when a story about a transfer break's either coming in or leaving, they're all cock a hoop about it. So it's like, you can't slam the red tops and tell us not to listen to them, and then completely listen to them when it comes to a transfer. It's just so stupid. But when are people going to realise that Rangers are doing the 100% right thing with this here? Why are we giving them free access to just end up writing shite? See, if they want to write shite, they're going to do it anyway. Let's not give them the gravy train this time.
Yep. No, I agree with you 100%, Derek. I think any sort of access from Rangers when it comes to the media, it should be done through, media that the fans actually want to sit and listen to. And we all know the absolute nonsense that gets spouted for the BBC, for Radio Clyde, for all the newspapers. We've been listening to it now for years and years and years, and constantly complaining about it. It's quite incredible. So no, they had their opportunity, Derek, to try and make things right with the club. They didn't. They tried to stick the boot in as many times as they possibly could. So now it's Rangers have done the right thing, and now they're absolutely livid about it. And we're just laughing because it's about time it happened. So no, I'm happy with the stance that the club has done, and long may it continue, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. The last piece of main kind of Rangers news here is the cinch row also rumbles on as well, with some fans of other teams just telling us to accept the deal and get on with it. I mean, here's the big issue with teams in Scotland, that too many of them are willing and too heavily reliant on giving scraps, and none of them can see that the deal is an absolute sham. It's been now found out that Spurs are getting, from Cinch, £10 million a year for sponsoring their sleeve. Compare this to the £8 million for 42 teams over 5 years to have virtually complete sponsorship on the sleeves, in the grounds, and the man of the match sponsor as well. what does it take for fans of other clubs to understand that Rangers here are fighting their cause as well, not to get scraps like this? It's unbelievable.
Again, Derek, I think a lot of it comes down to, it's Rangers. Let's try and criticise as much as possible without actually going and looking at exactly what the deal is is worth. People are seeing the 8 million, right? But they're not seeing everything. I mean, you ran down the full details in the last podcast as to say how much it was going to actually work out for each team each season, and it's absolutely pitiful, the amount. But basically, they just, I mean, I even saw some ridiculous statement for Hugh Keevins going on about a multi-million pound sponsored deal which was being scuppered by Rangers. And as you say, the whole, by the way, this is over 5 years. And if you actually add it all up, I mean, did you say, Derek, it was turning out to be something like £40,000 a year for each team or something like that? Is that correct?
Well, that's the thing. It's not been really clarified. And I did see somebody saying that the top 12 teams, so the teams in the Premiership, would get like £500,000 over the 5 years over it. But even that, it's still nothing.
£100,000 a season.
Doncaster makes more in one season. I say makes, yep. I use that term lightly there. But he's getting £400,000 a year, where we make just over that over the 5 years. It's abysmal.
It is pitiful, Derek. It really is. But again, because it's us, you've got all the haters out there are just jumping on the bandwagon to say that we're trying to put a spanner in the works and it's all this money. And really, when you look at it, Derek, it's absolutely pitiful for every club out there. So, no, I agree with you 100% there.
Yep. The last piece of news here I've got is Charles Green accepted a £6.3 million plus legal fees from the Crown Office in compensation for his wrongful prosecution. I say that lightly as well. He then went on to the Keys and Gray podcast talking a load of shite. Now, I'm going to be careful what I'm going to say here because he's now got the money to sue us, but know that we've got the money, mind you. But on that note, though, on it, he did say that Police Scotland were corrupt. So I hope the legal team at Police Scotland are listening there. But let's be honest, nobody from Rangers cares what that guy has to say, unless it's to tell us where all the money from the share issue and the season ticket money went, because I think there was something near £60 million has went missing, and then tell us why he signed the Sports Direct deal, which he actually went on to claim was a great deal for us.
Oh, unbelievable, Derek. I didn't listen to it, Derek, because I knew that it would have got my blood boiling, so I made a conscious decision not to listen to it. And going by what you've just told me, I'm glad that I didn't listen to it. I'm really surprised that Andy Gray, who is a huge Rangers fan, agreed to have him on the podcast, because lately you said there's not one Rangers fan out there is slightest bit interested what that guy's got to say. And again, there's more questions than answers there with some of that stuff that you've just said that he's came away with. So no, I'm glad now that I didn't listen to it, Derek. Before we go, can I just have a special mention to the biggest wind-up merchant in Scottish football for yet again coming out.
I know what you're going to say.
The man who's never managed Rangers or played with Rangers or really had anything to do with Rangers, but really does like to wind up the Celtic fans as much as possible. Yes, I'm talking about the one-time Hearts player, manager, coach, director, lead groundsman, whatever you want to call him, Craig Levine. Craig, again, I tip my hat to you for coming out and winding up the Celtic fans. I'm sure everybody knows what I'm about to say, but his comments on the radio last week, I think it was on the BBC, with regards to Gordon Strachan doing his dual role both at Dundee and at Celtic, and being asked how he would be allowed to do such a thing and why he would do such a thing, for Craig Levine to turn around to say, well, possibly Dundee owe Celtic a favour. It's absolute comedy gold by Craig. Once more, it's almost as good as the lawnmowers going behind him after he beat Celtic at Tynecastle. Nothing will ever tip that for me. So thanks again, Craig. Don't ever change. Get on the radio as much as possible because you know how to wind them all up. So well done.
Absolutely brilliant. So, Fire crews called to hospital to cut metal ring off patient's penis. Fire crews were called to a hospital in the UK to cut off a metal ring off a man's penis. A doctor at Huddersfield Royal Infirmary called the Technical Rescue Service of West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service to help a man who had a stainless steel metal ring stuck to his penis on Thursday the 22nd of July. Crews used specialist cutting equipment to relieve the anonymous patient from his particularly embarrassing predicament. Commenting on the odd case, former GP Stuart Oliver said that mishap would have been incredibly painful for the bloke. Speaking to Yorkshire Live, he said, "I have no idea why this particular man had done this, but I can only assume it was to help maintain an erection. The problem is that the blood had gone into the penis and it needs to drain back, and if it gets swollen up, then it would be prevented from happening. It would be incredibly painful, and you would need to remove the ring as quickly as possible, as there a possibility that gangrene could start developing." It's a strange thing to do with a metal ring. Rubber is more stretchable. A West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue spokesman said West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service crews attended a hospital at Acre Street, Lindley and Huddersfield yesterday afternoon to assist a patient. While the case is obviously unusual, perhaps the fella in question can comfort himself in the knowledge that he's far from the first person to put his penis somewhere he shouldn't have. In 2018, a man in Hong Kong decided to use a large metal nut as a makeshift penis ring in order to maintain an erection. Sadly for the 34-year-old, the nut couldn't be dislodged from the base of his shaft and ended up in hospital. By the time he was seen, he had developed a fever and his penis was severely oedematous, meaning that it had accumulated a lot of excess fluid. Doctors had to use a diamond disc cutter in order to get through the metal, presumably causing his member to shrivel to the brink of invisibility. And they shut Sherlock. Even then, though, it wasn't enough to prevent the bloke from sustaining 2 cuts on his Johnson during the procedure. Oh.
It brings tears to your eyes.
Oh.
Dear, dear.
There are specialised shops for these kind of things, you know.
Is there?
So I've heard.
Yeah.
Yes, so on that note, we will end the podcast. So it's been a slightly longer podcast than we expected. 4 games to cover and a lot that's happening. I suspect the next podcast will be the exact same.
Oh.
However, as ever, if you want to check out what we do, which is still to be updated, you can go to our website at ireadypodcast.wordpress.com. So a lot to digest there and a lot coming up as well, Dave.
It certainly is, Derek. It has been. I was sitting thinking, I thought this is going to be back to, you know, a type of pods that we recorded a couple of seasons ago. I don't like that, Derek. I like us to be happy. I like us to be positive. So here's hoping that that's the last time that we're going to be sort of more negative, certainly about our team's performances. So just have to hope get a good result on Thursday, another good result on Sunday as well, and it will be a much happier podcast next week when we report back in.
Yes, a good result the next day and a good result the next one as well. So
exactly.
So, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.